Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good morning, Boker Tov.
Boker Tov.
Tell your neighbor Boker Tov. Good morning. Tell them Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, we're going to go ahead and start with a word of prayer today. So let's go ahead and bow our heads and ask the Holy Spirit to just lead us and guide us. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, we thank you, Abba, for your blessings that shine down upon us. We thank you that every good and perfect gift comes from you. And Father, we thank you that the greatest gift you ever gave us was eternal life through your Son. And we thank you, Lord God, that he is the Word made flesh that dwelt among us. And today we want to look at your Word, but be able to look at it through his eyes, through the eyes of Yeshua, who spoke the language of Ivrit, the language of Hebrew, as a pure tongue to be restored back to your people, according to Zephaniah 3:9. We pray today this holy tongue would be our tongue, that we would not speak evil but speak good. Lashon hara would not be spoken, but Lashon hatov, the good tongue. Lashon HaKodesh, the holy tongue. And we pray today that the language of Ivrit, the language of Hebrew, would be not only able to be ascertained, understood, and clarified, but Father, we can communicate it and articulate it in a way that brings revelation to our reading of the Scriptures. We thank you for this blessing now. As the Holy Spirit leads us through HaKodesh, we pray you come now and give us eyes to see and ears to hear and hearts to understand the deep things of God. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen. All right. Good morning, class. Boker Tov. We're going to go ahead and take a look at a continuation of our look at how to study the Bible through the language of Hebrew. And we've been looking at our Aleph-Bet, so I'm actually going to take you through the Aleph-Bet today, and I've kind of prepared this just for a review of the basics, so we can get into a couple things that we'll learn today that we'll be able to use, and maybe even do a little quizzing on some concepts. Okay, so let's take a look at our Aleph-Bet. We're going to do 5 letters at a time. You see 5 letters on the screen, and the same is on your handout, and then we'll go through each 5 until we get to the last 2 to make 22 letters. Okay, so let's start the count 3. 1, 2, 3.
Aleph-Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud. Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech. Ayin, Pei, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav.
Now, I want to do that again because I still hear someone pronouncing CH as Chet and not Chet. There is no ch sound in Hebrew. It's not even there. Even to say my name, Brian Belechi, I have to use the letter Sadi, which is ts, and I have to put a hyphen by it to cause the reader to know that we change the Hebraic sound to ch because it's not there. We do the same thing with the name Joe. We use the gimel, which would be g, which would give us go, and we put a hyphen by it, not a hyphen, excuse me, apostrophe by it, so it forces us to take the letter gimel and pronounce it as an Americanized J, an English J. So we don't have J sound either. So all the J names of the Bible are spelled with what letter? The letter Yud. The letter Yud, which is equal to the English Y. So we're going to go ahead and do this one more time because I want to make sure you're pronouncing things correctly, okay? 1, 2, 3. Aleph-Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud. Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech. Ayin, Pei, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav. Tov Me'ot. So as we review these letters, I want to just go through them a little bit for a second. Notice that the letter Aleph, without even looking at the pictographs, which we know the Aleph is an ox head, the Aleph is a silent letter. So everyone say Aleph.
Aleph.
Now originally this is made with a guttural sound, so in the back of the throat it would be Aleph. It would be a little bit of a guttural sound in the back. You hear it more when you say letters like Ein. You feel that guttural sound in the back of the throat. Ein. Aleph. And so this sound is silent until I put a vowel, which means the letter Aleph can be any sound, primarily. We could turn it from an A sound that we typically think of it being to an O or an I or an E. The letter Aleph is silent, so we think of it like a shofar to be blown, and until we put wind to it, there's no sound. So Hebrew letters think of them like a shofar. We have even vowels that give certain timing and length of sound. So the shofar can have the doo, or it can have the three medium length blasts, doo, 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 or it can have the staccato blast. Doo, 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 doo. And so we know the shofar has 3 different basic sounds: long, medium, short. Vowels are the same way. Vowels are the wind blown through the ram's horn. Okay, so the vowels what helps us pronounce the letters. So these letters are really vehicles. They carry weight when wind goes through, comes from the lungs, through the back of the mouth, through the back of the throat, through the teeth area, coming out the mouth. We give this instrument sound. So these letters are instruments. Each letter is a pictograph. What's a pictograph?
Picture.
Picture. It's the drawing, the graphing of a picture. So ancient writing were pictographs. And we know that the letter Aleph is an oxhead. We looked at that before extensively. The letter Bet is house. If I put those 2 letters together, the Aleph and the Bet, primarily the Bet, and we'll talk about the lack of a Dagesh in the second form of the letter Bet, what title in the family does it spell? What title in the family does it spell? The Aleph and the head of the house. What title in the family does it? The father. Very good. So the Aleph and the Bet is an ox head and a house. So we put those 2 together, and we learned that the Aleph and the Bet show the head of the house, or the ox is a symbol of strength. The strength of the house, like the name husband in German, husband, is a house band. A husband is a house band. He bands the house together. He's the strength of the house. So notice that the letter Bet can have a Dagesh, which is the dot in the center. Everybody say Dagesh.
Dagesh.
Dagesh. So we'll learn that there are special letters that have a special rule for the letter that has the Dagesh, and especially 6 special letters. So notice the letter Bet can have a Dagesh. With the Dagesh, the dot in the center, it's what sound? B. Without the Dagesh, it's what sound? B. So who's the father of faith in the Bible? First patriarch? Abraham, and we would pronounce him in Hebrew as Abraham. So the B would be a V sound. And it's listed when you look at words like that in the Strong's Concordance. The problem is most biblical scholars don't understand the rule that with the dot in the center, the Dagesh, what's the dot called? Dagesh. With that dot in the center, it will give it a strong, hard pronunciation of a strong B. When you soften the B, it goes to a V sound. So Abram is really what? Avram. And we already learned if you put these first 2 letters together, you have Av, father. So Av is father. What does Ram mean? Exalted. Exalted. So what does Abram's name mean? Avram, or 2 words put together. Exalted father. What does his name mean now as Avraham or Abraham?
Multitude of.
A father of a multitude. Or we then take that to the prophecy over his life, a father of many nations. Okay? Which literally means a father of Gentiles. So not only was one nation, one goy, taken out of 70 descendants of Noah after the flood, 70 descendants of Noah, one nation out of 70. God says, I'm going to make that nation a holy nation. The word nation is goy. Everybody say goy.
Goy.
So holy is what? Kadosh. So goy, kadosh is a what?
Holy nation.
Holy nation. So Israel is goy, kadosh. The only time you ever call a Jew a goy is when he's goy kadosh. He's a holy nation, because goy means nation, but it can also be translated Gentile. So when you refer to the nation of Israel, they are goy kadosh. They're never just goy. They're never just a nation. They're goy kadosh, a holy, set-apart nation. Set apart from the other 70, leaving 69 nations that are just goy, or in plural, goyim. Say goyim.
Goyim.
G-O-Y-I-M. Goyim is nations. In Greek, it would be ethnos, where we get the word ethnic from. So these are different ethnic groups that came from the descendants of Noah from his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, came all the nationalities or ethnic groups or nations of the world. It's funny how there's 70 because it was actually related to the 70 sons of Jacob that went into Egypt, right? In Exodus chapter 1. So God says, I numbered the nations after you. But the nations came first, then Jacob's descendants. So how interesting that God reverses it and says, I literally numbered the nations after your sons that would go in Egypt.
Wow.
And that's because God always had a plan that out of all nations, he would create a holy nation so that the world can become holy again after being expelled from the garden. So God goes from the 1 to the 2 to the many, back to the 1 and the 2, and then to the many. So it's interesting how the man and the woman produce children that then become nations, the multitude. But then sometimes when the nation goes wrong, he has to pick one person to be a holy person again with a joining partner, obviously, to produce more godly children. And the story goes on. You can say the same thing with the Messiah, because the Messiah needs a bride. And so as believers, we are the body of Messiah, but we're also the bride of Messiah. And so when we understand that, we realize that God always reduces the many back to the 1, which then from the 1 he made 2, and the 2 become 1 again. And then from that moment on, they produce children. So there's multiplication. So it's kind of like, you go from this kind of shape, like, when you look at DNA, it's a spiral. So you actually see that God, to really save the world, he's got to find one person that will believe, one person that will trust, one person that will know the God of salvation, one person that will know his ways. And then from that one person, he will train everyone in the way of the Lord. What did Abraham do? Teach his children the way of the Lord. Train up a child in the way he should go. When he's old, he won't depart. Proverbs 22:6. Yeshua said, I am the way, the truth, and life. He was continuing that legacy of Abraham to keep people in the way, not to himself per se, but to the Father. He is the way to the Father, and so he's the way, the truth of the Father. He's the life of the Father embodied in a person. And so we know that Yeshua the Messiah is the Word who became flesh and dwelt among us. So when we look at the words here, we see the Aleph-Bet make up the name. We can even go on and make up more words here, but just to go through the alphabet, we know that there are other letters that have the Dagesh. We're not going to touch on them right now, but actually the next 2 are actually have a special rule for the Dagesh. But we don't usually see it as often in connection to a difference of pronunciation in today's world. But let's go ahead and go through the next letters. We see no Dagesh in these per se. Now a Dagesh could be used in the letter Vav to take it from a V to what? An O or a U. And so we can actually use them as a vowel. We put the dot on top, it's a O sound. We put the dot on the side, it's a U sound. So the dot on top is like a bird in the air. So we say, oh, look at that bird in the air. The dot on the side would be then an U sound, and like a woman's purse would say, ooh, look at that nice purse. So that would be on your vowel page. You flip your first page, you'll notice that your vowels there. We'll review vowels next week. But let's keep going, because I want to get to our special rules today. Notice that the letter KeFaT, which happens to be the 11th letter in Hebrew, the letter KeFaT starts with the Dagesh. Without the Dagesh, it goes from the K to the CH, or we can even spell it KH sound. And then the final form is at the end, where it looks like an elongated dalet, the sofit. And we'll talk about sofitim in a minute. So then the lamed, the mem, the nun, the samet. Notice mem and nun have a final form. Mem, sofit, nun, sofit. So what that means is it looks different at the end of a word, the final form. And then we look at the next 5, 16, here through 20, and we have ein, which is a silent letter. We have the letter Pei with the Dagesh, and that will give us a P sound. Without the Dagesh, it reduces to F sound, like when we say Philippines, PH, right? Someone from the Philippines would actually say the Philippines. It would be a P all the time. So it's interesting how languages work. So that PH would be an F. So then we have the letter Sadi, which has a final form. So we have Fe Sofit and we have Sati Sofit. The final form is at the end of the word. And then we have Kuf Resh, and then the final 2, Shin Tav. And then the special rule with the dot of the sheen, we see that the sheen normally has the dot on the right. That's the right way to pronounce it, as sheen. If the dot's on the left, it's sin. Not sin, but sin.
So sin is not right.
Yes, sin is not right. That's a good way to remember it. Sin is not right. Very good, Barbara. And then the letter tav. Letter tav is the final letter there, making 22. And sometimes the Dagesh is there. I put the Dagesh in this one, but many times we don't see the Dagesh, as in Shabbat. Okay. So let's look at missing my final forms, but we saw the final forms earlier. We'll go right into the next part I want to show you, is the Beged KeFaT letters. Beged KeFaT. Okay, so these special letters have a special rule with the Dagesh in them. The reason we call them Beged KeFaT is all we've done is taking the first letter of each word. So let's say them together. Ka, Gimel, Dalet. Oh, it's supposed to be Beit. I'm sorry. Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Ka, Pe, Tav. Okay. So with these letters, the B, the G, the D, the P, and the T, we literally create an acronym, Beged KeFaT. So what I'm going to do is take you through the basic rule. This gives these 6 letters a hard pronunciation. We call this special Dagesh. If I say Dagesh, a Dagesh Kal, or sometimes linguistically it's called a Dagesh Lene. That means a light Dagesh. The simple Dagesh is basically what it means. So Dagesh Kal means a simple Dagesh. The simple use of the Dagesh is that it changes the letter from a soft to a hard pronunciation. You will find it at the beginning of a word or after what we call a Sheva Nach. A Sheva Nach. So notice the Sheva Nach is a special rule, right? And we'll review that in a second. Our example would be like the letter Beit. Everybody say Beit.
Beit.
Now, Beit is a letter, but it's also a construct form of the word Beit, house. It means house of. So if I want to say house of peace, what would I say?
Beit
Shalom, house of peace. If I want to say house of Messiah, I would say what?
Beit Messiah.
Beit Mashiach or Beit Messiah, right. And so funny because we actually have synagogues named after these exact titles or phrases. So house of something is Beit. House by itself would be Beit. In this case, Beit is the letter, but it's also a construct form of house, which is Beit, and it's spelled Beit. Here's the spelling of it. The Beit, underneath is the vowel Sere, the Yud, and the Tav. So that's an example of the Dagesh in the beginning of the word. So in the beginning of a word, you're not going to have a V sound of the letter Beit. You will always have a what? A hard B sound. So Beit is never going to be Beit as a noun, because the first letter of a word is our first rule for these special letters. When one of these special letters, the Beit, the Gimel, the Dalet, the Kav, the Pei, and the Tav, have a Dagesh in them at the beginning of a word, it always gives us a hard sound. Even in the name David, David, we're going to put a Dagesh in the first Dalet and not a Dagesh in the last Dalet for David. We're going to actually make the strong D first and then a softer D, David. See the soft one at the end? David. You don't say David. David means the first D has to come strong. Yes?
Okay, so Dagesh Kal is the hard.
Dagesh Kal is going to be the hard pronunciation.
Okay, it comes usually at the beginning of a letter.
It is, the first rule is that at the beginning of a word, it will be a hard pronunciation, Dagesh. And the reason we're giving this rule is because there's a different form of Dagesh that we will probably review at another time. This first Dagesh is just based upon these 6 letters, what we call Beged KeFaT, where there's a hard pronunciation. So the letter Beit is an example I use for house of. And then our second rule is after Sheva Nach, which is Sheva Nach is a special vowel symbol. It looks like this, it looks like a colon underneath. And this Sheva Nach makes this letter rest after I pronounce it. What that means, it comes to a glottal stop. I'm not going to continue on the way Hebrews normally pronounce. Now, how do we make a syllable in Hebrew? All I need is one Hebrew letter, and it is a consonant. One Hebrew letter, and it's a consonant. Everybody say consonant?
Consonant.
Plus a vowel.
Plus a vowel.
All I need for a syllable, consonant plus a vowel. How many consonants do I have? How many syllables do I have in shalom? 2. Sha,
And lo.
lo. So the simple is sha. Everybody say sha.
Sha.
Notice your mouth stays open.
Sha.
Sha. So we call that an open syllable. The last one is closed. Sha, lo. What closed my lips? The last letter, the M, the letter mem. And that means it's a consonant plus a vowel plus a closing consonant. So C plus V is
C.
open. C plus V plus C is closed. C being consonant, V being vowel. Okay? I'll try to make that part of our lesson next week to review. So, example is pronouncing from right to left this word here, meaning desert or wilderness. What's this letter?
Mouth.
What's this letter?
Mem.
Mem.
Yeah, mem.
Okay? What's the sound underneath, the one dot underneath?
E.
E. So that means it's like the dot on an I, which is pronounced E. So we didn't do our vowels, but let's just sound them one time through. The A, E, I, O, and U, like in Spanish, is what? A, E, O, U. So an A is pronounced how? A. And E is pronounced how? E. And I is pronounced how? E. And O is O. And a U is U. Right? A, E, O, U. Let's sound it 3 times through. 1, 2, 3. A, E, O, U. Again. A, E, O, U. One more time. A, E, O, U. Tomo. Very good. So this is equal to an I vowel in English, but it's pronounced how?
Me.
It's pronounced E. E. So put together the mem sound, the M, with the E sound. What do I get?
Me.
Me. So now I have one syllable. I have an open syllable, me. Everybody say me.
Me.
Okay. Now, what's happening next, though, instead of having a consonant with a vowel, I have a consonant with what we call a Shavah Nach. That means we cut this off by putting a line between these next 2 letters, and it's going to basically come to a glottal stop. So instead of a consonant with a sounding vowel, I'm no longer going to sound. I'm going to come to a rest. So Nach is the same root as Noah. Nach, in Hebrew, Noah is Noah. His name means rest. So a Shavah Nach is this special Shavah that looks like this, that rests. It's a resting Shavah, meaning it's not a sounding Shavah that has a rule for sounding. It is a resting Shavah. It comes to a glottal stop. You can literally put a stop sign there, just come to an end. That's the only way to put 2 consonant letters together without a vowel in between, is to just make a mark that says no vowel after this one. We're going to come to a close. Okay? So what we have here is the letter what? Dalet. Notice that there's no Dagesh in there. So it's not as strong Dagesh as sound as in Davi, but in the latter Dalet, Davi, sofit. Adam is the same. Adam. 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 It's not Adam, it's Adam. It almost is like a form of a TH sound when your mouth closes. Adam. Kind of a noisy D, a TH. Okay? So here we have a closed syllable here. We have this sound here, me. What do we do with the letter Dalet if we come to a glottal stop? We have mead. So what does this sound here? Mead. So we always read a consonant with its vowel, consonant up, no vowel. Now, there's going to be a rule to figure this out, but let's just start with this one. This is mead. And then right after the Shavah Nach, my next letter, if it's one of the basic KeFaT, has to have a Dagesh. Without the Dagesh, that B sound is going to turn into a soft let. B, like Abraham or Avram. So we've got to put the strong sound in there with the Dagesh kal, because the rule was it's either the beginning of the word, like here, or after Shavah Nach. So we had a Shavah Nach here, the next letter is a basic KeFaT letter. The rule is, after Shavah Nach, I got to put that Dagesh in there. It's going to make it a strong B sound. So instead of midvar, It's midbar. Midbar. Everyone say midbar.
Midbar.
What book of the Torah is that? Numbers. Why? Because the Torah starts in Numbers saying that they were in the wilderness. And so the 40-year journey, most of those years are in the book of Numbers. So it's called in Hebrew midbar, which means desert. It's the wilderness journey. Okay? So midbar is desert or translated wilderness. So this is an example of both rules. Beginning a word and after Shabbat Nach. How many understand that, or is there any questions on that part so far? Any questions? Okay, rule number 1. The Dagesh at the beginning of a word, soft or hard sound? Hard. The after Shabbat Nach, what else do we have? Hard sound. Okay, those are the 2 rules. Example, Beit and Midbar. Alright? No questions? Alright, so now let's specifically talk about the other way to look at this. For the Shabbat, we use the Dagesh Kal, which we said there are 6 letters that have a hard sound. So that means there must be a different type of Shabbat used for different things. So we're going to start with the other one, which is the normal Shabbat that we think of, and that is a Shabbat Na. Everybody say Shabbat Na.
Shabbat Na.
Na, right? Shabbat Na. So Shabbat Na is a moving Shabbat, meaning it is pronounced. The other one was not. This one is. And not blended with the preceding letter. So it's going to actually get a full sound. But the only thing is, it's not going to get a long sound. You're going to give it a sound, but it's going to be a very short, quick E sound. So the Shabbat is actually a short E sound, but sometimes it's a Shabbat Nach, it's no sound. How do we know the difference? Okay. Well, we have a couple of rules that we could lean on. Let's first look at the Shabbat Nach we've already talked about. The Shabbat Nach is a resting Shabbat. What kind of Shabbat is it? Resting Shabbat. So it still looks like this. Notice that you actually have a Shabbat in the word Shabbat. You actually have a Shabbat in the word Shabbat. So you actually have to use the rule Shabbat. Instead of Sheba, it's Shva. Everybody say that. Shva. Sometimes you'll see people say Shwa, but that's a new kind of interpretation of the letter making the VW sound. But it's Shva. Everybody say Shva.
Shva.
Now say Nach.
Nach.
Okay? So we have a Shva Na and a Shva Nach. Nach means it rests. Na, open mouth, means it keeps sounding. So Nach, Na. Right? That's how you remember that. So this is a resting Shva, meaning it is not pronounced and creates a what? Glottal stop, or it's called quiescent, quiet, or silent Shabbat. So sometimes you can call it a silent Shabbat, or you can call it a resting Shabbat.
The Shvala is
Shabbat Nach is resting. Shabbat Na. How do you know? Well, just say the word. Shabbat Na. My mouth stays open. I must continue to give a sound. Shabbat Na. Everybody say it. Shabbat Na. Say Shabbat Nach. Nach. I cut it off. Came to a glottal stop. So the Nach means it's resting. The Na means I keep sounding it out. My mouth is open. Okay? So which one do we use for the Dagesh Kal?
The resting.
The resting one. So we see that there's a different rule then for the Shabbat Na. How do we know when to sound and when to be silent? Well, one thing we'll review today, and we'll probably make this our closing thought. There are 5 basic rules. And to do that, we're going to use the 5 Hebrew letters that we started with. So what are the first 5 letters? Aleph-Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. So let's look at the first 3 letters. The first letter is what? Aleph. And it's the first letter of the alphabet, right? Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this means that if the Shabbat appears at the first letter of a word, it is always a Shabbat Na. Shabbat Na. Now, this is for other letters other than the rule that we have for the KeFaT. Because the KeFaT, the Dagesh Kal, It's only for how to pronounce the consonant. It has nothing to do with sounding the vowel. So let's go back to that one just for a second. The purpose for the Dagesh Kal needing to be after Shva Nach has nothing to do with the vowel itself. Has everything to do with how to pronounce the what? Consonant. The consonant needs to be a hard pronunciation. So, and the letter Bet, it needs to be a B sound, correct? Now we're going to move on to all letters and what the rule is. The rule for Shva Nach is that if the Shva, not the Dagesh, remember we were talking about Dagesh before, if the Shva, the little two dots that look like a colon, if the Shva Nach is underneath the first letter of a word, it has to be sounded. Can anybody think of a word in Hebrew that has a Shva under the first letter? What's the word for repentance? Teshuvah. Okay. Now, actually, the pronunciation should be teshuvah. 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 Now, Israelis will say it faster. They'll say shuvah. Don't ask me why, but it's like people in New York talk faster. It's just one of those things. The teshu becomes shu. Teshuvah becomes shuva. They just say it really fast. And the letters slam together. But there is still a small E sound in there. So, under the first letter of a word, or excuse me, if a Shva is under the first letter of a word, we always sound it just a little bit. Okay? It can't be a glottal stop. Because you can't start the word with a glottal stop. How would you pronounce it? If there's no vowel at all, you can't pronounce the word. You need some vowel to pronounce the beginning of the word, correct? Right. You need some wind blowing through the instrument. So under the first letter of a word, it's always a Shva Nach. Say that with me. Under the first letter of the word. No, you repeat after me. Under the first letter of the word.
Under the first letter of the word.
It's always a Shva Nach.
It's always a Shva Nach.
It always sounds.
It always sounds.
So anytime we see the Shva underneath the first letter, it always sounds. That's rule number one. Does everybody have that rule in their head? So if I have a Shva under the first letter of a word, it's always a what? It's always a Shva Nach. So it is a moving, sounding Shva. I must sound the first letter. It just makes sense. How do I get started? I can't even sound the first letter. I can't even say the word. Correct? I might as well just put consonant letters up there to say my Aleph-Bet. Because without that first sound, I can't even start. Is everybody clear on that? The second rule will come from the second letter of Hebrew to remind us, and that's the letter Bet. So we're using Bet as referring to the number 2 or second. Here's the rule. If there are 2 Shvas in a row, meaning now you got a Shva under one letter, now you got another Shva under another letter. Here's the rule. The second one is a Shva Nach. So the first one is a glottal stop, the second one is a Shva Nach. Okay? If 2 Shvas appear at the end of a word, as in the word aunt, almost like you're saying spelling ant. Aunt. Right here. Aleph, Nun, Tav. Notice the 2 Shvas. This is a special rule. It says they are both Shva Nachs, meaning both of them are silent. So we have an A sound, which is ah. We have an N and a T without any vowels. In English, we'd probably just say it was an ant, right? A-N-T. In Hebrew, you need to tell me we have no vowel in between. So the way you do that is this little Shva. The only way to put 2 consonants together is to have a Shva Nach underneath the first one. And if you have 2, now you have 2 letters that have no vowels. A-N-T. Technically, I should have had a vowel in between each one, correct? Consonant plus a vowel. Consonant plus a vowel. Because I don't have a syllable unless I have consonant plus a vowel. You follow me?
How do you pronounce it?
Aunt. Because the A to the ant, it's a sound, correct? So here's Aleph with the top underneath, it's A. And then the Nun has a Shva, and the last letter Tav has a Shva. So it's an N and a T without any vowels in between.
Silent.
They're both silent, so it's going to be aunt.
Yes.
Aunt. Okay. Now, the rule though is not about the 2 at the end. The rule is somewhere else in the word. So you say, for instance, I got a 4-syllable word, and the second and the third syllable both have the Shva there. The first one is silent, the second one is silent. Okay? So I don't have an example of that right now. Let's just move to rule number 3. The third letter in Hebrew is what? Gimel. And the word we're going to spell with Gimel is the word for big. Gedolah. I'm going to say Gedolah.
Gedolah.
That's because we have a certain vowel called a tenuah gedolah. Here's the word for vowel. Tenuah gedolah. Okay? So it says a shava appearing directly after a tenuah gedolah, a long vowel, is a shava. What that means, if I have a long vowel, then the next, if there's a shva after it, it's going to sound. Okay? That's because the long vowel makes that syllable independent without a glottal stop. When we did midbar, it was a short vowel. Okay? When we did midbar, there was no yud after the letter of the vowel kiri. So it wasn't a long mid bar, it's midbar, short, or we call medium. So what this rule is, if there's a long vowel, it's got a sound, which would mean if it's a shorter vowel, it doesn't. Okay? So long vowel, it sounds, short one, it doesn't. So in midbar, do I have a long or medium vowel length? We have we call it medium, but it's shorter than the long. It's not the longest one. The longest one would need the letter yud right after the dot. So the letter yud is hirik yud, and that is the longest I vowel. You'll see that in your vowel chart, which is after the first page. You flip it over, see all the possible vowels. You can have an I by a dot underneath, or an I followed by the letter yud, give it a long I sound. Okay? So that's the third rule. Okay, so just know if it is after a long vowel, it has to be sound. So our first rule was, if it's under the first letter of a word, correct? If there's two shabas in a row, the first one doesn't sound, the second one does. And now the third rule is after a long vowel. Okay, this is rule number 3. Now, we're going to go on to the last two, and the letter Dalet and He. For the letter Dalet, we're going to spell the word Dagesh. So Dalet's going to remind us of Dagesh, and this means a shava under a letter with a Dagesh is a shavana. So if you have a Dagesh in the letter and you have a shava underneath it, it's got a sound. Okay? It's got a sound. So if you have a letter that has a Dagesh in it and a shava underneath it, you still have to sound. It can never be a shava Nach or rest. And next week we'll find examples of these words. We'll do a vocabulary list and we'll go through each one and we're going to see what the rule is. So that when you look at a word, you'll go, I know that rule. That's a short vowel there. It's missing the long form of the vowel. I know we've got to make it a nach, a resting shva, or we're going to go ahead and sound it out as a separate syllable. Okay? And then the last one is hadamot. When two same letters appear next to each other, and the first has a shava, it is a shava na, as in the word hineni. So literally, damot means twins. So you got two twins here. A doubling of a letter. Hey, nun, yud. This is the word hineni. Hineni. That means here I am. So all the patriarchs, when God would call their name, Abraham, he'd say, hineni, here I am. Isaiah said, who shall we send for us? Here I am, send me, hineni. It's hine, behold, and ani. Contracted together, hineni. Everyone say hineni.
Hineni.
Behold, here I am. Hineni. That's our response to the Lord when the Lord says, who shall I send?
When Samuel was called, he said hineni.
Hineni. All the patriarchs and people that were used in Scripture would have that opportunity to respond to that with hineni, which is, behold, here I am. So in this rule, we have two of them. So the rule is, when two of the same letter appear next to each other, the first has a shava, it is a shava na, meaning it sounds as in hine, and then, so we have hineni. So because normally what you're going to have is the first one would normally be silent, this time it's going to sound. And it's because it's two of the same letters. The same thing happens with hallelujah. Hallelujah. There's two lamets. Hallelujah. We'd say there's two L's. So each one is sounded separately. Hallelujah. So we know normally all I would have to do to double a letter is just put a Dagesh in the letter Nun. In this case, they're both going to have a sound, Hineni. And so we're going to have this rule that if a Shiva is it says here, the first has the Shiva, it's going to be a Shiva Na, it's going to sound. Okay. So these are the basic rules, and what I'll do is I'll give you a vocabulary list after, next week, and we'll just review all these and find examples of them. Okay, so how many learned something today? Okay, how many feel like you're going to be processing it all week? Okay, good. All right, for some of you it's new, some of you it's review. So we're going to go ahead and close in prayer and believe that for next week's vocabulary list to be even more powerful. Okay, let's pray. Abba, we thank you, Lord God, for your goodness. We thank you that our eyes have been able to see, our ears have been able to hear. Let our hearts understand. Holy Spirit, lead us and guide us to all truth and bring all things back to our remembrance. In the mighty name of Yeshua, we pray. Amen. God bless you today.
Yeshua Meshachenu Ikubo Halmai Machasenu Hugo Alenu Yeshua Meshachenu